Okay, hello and welcome everybody. This is Ben Chiriboga, the head of growth at Nexl, coming to you with another Nexl Fireside Chats. If this is the first time that you are watching one of our Nexl Fireside Chats, the Nexl Fireside Chats are an opportunity for us to speak to a business of law expert on some discrete topic of business of law. It is no secret that the practice of law is really turning into a business. And that means a lot of change in the industries. And so we talk with leaders about everything from legal pricing, how to price your services, all the way to marketing, business development, all the way to new business models and technology. And today we are very, very excited to be speaking with one of our business of law experts, Ben Pail of BD Ladder. Ben, welcome.
Hi, Ben. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for hosting me today. Looking forward to our chat.
We are as well. So for those of you who are not familiar with Ben, not only does he share an excellent first name, but he is one of our business of law experts. But Ben, you and I both live in the wild world of law firm marketing, but I'm sure that there is much more to Ben Pail. Give us the brief prospectus of who is Ben Pail and how did you end up in the world of law firm and professional services business development?
So while I'm based over here in New Zealand, I'm originally from London, back in the UK. My accent might give that away during this call. I started off in the wonderful world of B2B sales all many years ago, selling IT training and all that kind of cool stuff and e-learning out to a corporate market. About 15 years ago, maybe longer, the grey hairs are showing. I transitioned over to a small accounting firm called Grant Thornton. They wanted to bring someone into their BD team who understood how to talk to people and make cold calls. So previously their BD marketing people back then were saying the right stuff, but didn't have the credibility to get that buy-in from partners. So when a partner turned around to me and said, well, when did you last make a cold call to CFO? I could say, well, 4 weeks ago, and this is how it went. And these are the things I tried, and this is what's successful. So that led me into a kind of coaching career within that BD field, which took me over here to Auckland, various different firms, a couple of law firms on the way. The last one before I founded the BD Ladder was as BD and marketing director at Kensington Swan, overseeing their integration, combination and rebrand to become Denton's Kensington Swan, big brand that everyone knows. Yes. At that point in 2020 January, I decided that I wanted to set up my own business, my own consultancy, work with people across professional services, really get into the hub of coaching and making change and helping people grow their businesses from small ones to larger ones, just really getting in there and making a real effect. And that's really exciting. So we founded the BD Ladder. We've grown. We've got a copywriter. We've got an associate on board now in New South Wales, Elizabeth Peterson. She's going great. The one thing I can say, though, is don't ever ask me to tell the future, because my 3 months became a 5-month period before I started the business, which meant I started the business bang during our first lockdown here in Auckland. So when I talk to clients about how there's no bad market conditions, how you make it successful regardless of whatever's going on in the world, I do it again, like when I started my career in professional services, I did it from a place of real experience and knowledge, having had to do it the hard way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great background. I know that there's much more that we didn't even scratch the surface. Some great war stories. It's fantastic to sort of be in this industry in some ways or another. So let's go ahead, and today we are going to speak about business development, specifically business development coaching and active business development, and what's the difference, and I think we'll get into this, between where we've been to sort of where we're going, and how important business development, active business development, and coaching for that really has. So why don't we start off with a softball question, but no question is softball in the world of business development, which is, we've sort of been in a world maybe of partner business plans, right? And the need for, or traditionally it's been a partner business plan, but you and I both know that those partner business plans have not exactly ever gone according to plan or even been used per se, right? So why don't you tease that up? Because the first thing that we wanted to talk about is going from sort of a passive business plan into active BD action plan. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, look, Ben, you're absolutely right there. I mean, most of them, sit in the drawer
Hmm.
and then dust it out the next year to hand into the senior leadership team so you can tick the box and you can move on and carry on running your practice
Right.
and so on and rinse and repeat, right? So they're absolutely useless. Or the other one, which is a bit of a real bugbear of mine, is they get someone within their team or even the BD and marketing team to actually write the partner plan for them. So it's again
Hmm.
done, but never looked at. And if someone writes your business plan for you,
Hmm.
you won't agree with it. You have no
Right.
buy-in, you have no commitment, right?
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
and a lot of it's because some of the plans are potentially trying to cover too much. In the world of BD, it's really quite simple and breaking it down so you have something you can actively achieve. So
Yes.
turning it into an active plan you commit to will lead to actions, and actions will lead to change. And that is
Hmm.
actually what will breed success. So the first thing that I always ask people to do is start with the amount of time you'll commit to BD activities. That means your
Hmm.
plan's realistic. Most people start with what they're going to do, but if you start with the time you will do, and these are busy people, they've got lots of work to do, lots of billables to do, lots of other focuses on the time. So how much per week or per day will you commit to outgoing business development activities? Not the meetings you'll
Yep.
have with your clients, but how much will you do to writing content, getting on social media,
Right.
making emails to get those meetings? How much of that time will you put aside? Once you start with that, you can then decide who you're going to target, whether it's
Hmm.
clients or prospects, and
Hmm.
what activities you will do. So then you can list out exactly what activities you will do. Are you going to try and reach out to them on LinkedIn? Are you going to build your profile?
Hmm.
Are you going to get in the right chat groups?
Hmm.
Are you going to do a webinar program? Are you, if you're lucky in a part of the world and it changes all the time, are you going to do the
Sure.
face to face? Are you going to get the coffee? Are you
Right.
going to try and get the Zoom meetings? And look, face
Hmm.
to face is always better. Humans, we prefer that, but we're
Yep.
getting used to this kind of environment here now. And the same thing,
Hmm.
you want that interaction. How many people do you need to speak to with an organization? How much rapport do you need to build? And
Hmm.
real trackable measurables. Once you get into that, you've taken that plan away from something that's I just want to work with big
Yes.
firms.
Right.
I want their fees to actually, this is how I'm actually granularly going to do it. This is the time
Yes.
I'm going to commit. And suddenly you've got
Yes.
an action-led plan. An action-led plan means one, you'll follow through, which means success, which means you've got something to measure against.
Yes. So it's near and dear to our hearts. Granular plans and following through.
Yeah.
The best actions that are not followed through are nothing but vapor and air. So what I got back from you is moving from a passive business plan is who. It's almost like how you are going to generate revenue to an
Yeah.
active business development plan is what are you going to do. So it's almost I know that's not exactly what you said, but for a snippet world, it's almost
Yes.
like one's a who to a what you are actually going to do, and committing to it, and
Yeah.
basically knowing that you have to sort of follow through. Is that basically
I
right?
think
The difference?
absolutely. It's a lovely summary, moving from
Yes.
the who to the actually when and the how. And
Right.
once you've got the when
Exactly.
and the how, you're
Yep.
actually doing actions.
Okay, so that gets us to a beautiful next question, which is all around business development coaching, right? And I think
Yeah.
that the coaching industry in and of itself has sort of had an explosion over the last couple of
Mm.
years. I think it's fantastic as a person who played sports his entire life. Even Michael Jordan had a coach, this famous whole thing. But what's important about once you have your list, what's important about the coaching? Why does the list and the granular activities match with the coaching so importantly?
Human nature is the
Yes,
answer, right? So,
right.
so it's a grey cold day here in Auckland, and we're allowed to do exercise. Will I go out and run and do the thing? If I have a personal trainer, not that I'm allowed one, but if you've got someone who's Zoom calling you and saying, "Hey, you need to do that run," will I do that? The chances are yes. Will they support me through those moments when I'm feeling like, oh, it's just too hard today? The answer is yes.
Right.
There's the other part of when you've got a plan, if you share it with someone you respect and trust, suddenly it moves from something of this is mine and I don't have to do it. I can hide away.
Right.
I can always procrastinate. I can always find an excuse. And it's very understandable for people went to law school and became lawyers and great law career because they want to be lawyers, not because they want to be business developers or sales,
Mm-hmm.
but they want clients, so they know they have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But if they've got enough busyness or they're carrying on, they can kind of park it and hide it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if they share it with a coach, the coach can actually say to them, hey, how are we getting on with that? Did you do your actions last week? What's the blockers? How can I help? How can we move you forward saying you're there?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because the truism is the busier you are right now,
Mm-hmm.
actually the more BD you need to do, because otherwise you get that lovely up and down kind of
Yes, right.
and then it's panic mode. It's I finished the job, I finished my big matter. Oh, hello. I've got nothing coming in. Panic.
Right. 100%. So it's absolutely the case that lawyers live in this up and down sort of like roller coaster. They get very, very busy, and then there's crickets and there's the scaffold. And what they don't what we don't realize is that the reason is because of what you did in the quarter before, the year before, the half quarter before that. It's all sort of like it all sort of stacks. And a business coach, to your point, will really allow you to stay consistent, even in the smallest ways, that consistently lead, so that you have a much more flat, a much more growing sort of pipeline for yourself.
Look, absolutely. I think we're seeing that more and more with immediate lockdowns and people going to different states. And when you're talking about how you do that BD activity and that marketing activity, you want to stay relevant and top of mind, but you don't want to be a pest, because people are actually time poor and less receptive to being approached at the moment, because they're trying to work while flatting or work while they're juggling, two kids and all that lovely distraction that's going on. So they're working still hard, they're still functioning, but you just need to be ultra relevant and ultra careful and sensitive to their working situation to stay relevant, have those conversations and keep them going. But you don't want to let it drift, because 6 months you haven't spoken to someone, they probably think you don't care. You've got less relevant, and your competitors come in and stolen the thunder, and suddenly, what do you know, you've lost a client.
So we could have a webinar all around the shifting industry, which is the increase in competition, which is very relevant right now, because when everybody's online, that means everybody's available. Everybody can see the same people. It's all sort of in the same spiel, and that's really the sort of new competitive landscape. We'll get to that. Let's put that aside, because we have something else that we want to go to, but we'll come back and talk to that later. So in some ways, we've just talked about the individual partner. We've kind of framed that up, right? Let's jump up to the law firm, and let's go firm-wide basis. And I know that's now, law firms are famous for partnership structures and the benefits, whatever they are, and some of the downfalls to law firm partnerships. Let's talk specifically business development coaching in the context of law firm partnerships and getting buy-in from the top, and why that's so important.
I'd say don't spend a nickel, a dime, a dollar, pound, whatever it is, unless the senior leadership team are 100% behind that program and see the need for behavioral change.
Yes.
What we're talking about now is behavioral change across the entire firm. And if it's not brought in and it's not adapted from those at the top, it won't have success. And then every single partner needs to be on board with it, whether they're being actively coached or not. Some may not require that, depending on the need of where they are, but they need to be on board. They need to be familiar with what they're trying to achieve and the types of methodology that's going to be in place, and they don't unravel it. If you really want to waste your money, invest in training just associates or senior associates and have no buy-in from partners and senior management. They'll learn some good stuff, and then they'll be blocked from doing it internally. So while they're nice skills, actually you won't see the benefits or rewards for a long time. And you might even find a few of them get frustrated because they've learned some stuff, they want to grow some business, they're being blocked internally. It's a lovely market where it's easy for them to jump ship, so they may well go and do that and try and go somewhere else where they can actually use those skills. So in essence, you're probably actually spending money which won't help your particular firm, but might help those individuals. So to get that change and to get it moving, you need that buy-in from the top, because that leads that behavior. You can't expect an external to do it. You can't expect your BD and marketing team to do it. It's a law firm. It respects the hierarchy. It respects its colleagues and peers and those who've gone through law school and in the industry. So you really need that buy-in.
Yes.
So without it, I'd say, as great as any coach can be and how important it really is, and wow, it's fabulous, don't proceed until you get that buy-in. So start there.
Yeah, I'm not even going to ask you the impossible question, which is getting buy-in from top partnership. We again have to have you back for a third one on that. We will. I don't know if you got a one sentence answer.
So no, honestly, I think in a way it's quite simple. It's understanding where that senior leadership team and that managing partner sees their firm in the next 3 years, and how do they want to get there, and what will get them there. And through unpacking that, what's the BD and marketing plan to get there, and how are their people going to action it? And then you're into a coaching program, right? So it's an education piece. Most people understand it, but you need that airtime. So that's why the people I talk to before I get engaged run the firm. They're not at any other part.
Yes. Right. Okay, that's a beautiful answer for anybody who's in sales and marketing for law firms. Understanding where, you heard it here first, Ben Pail, understanding where law firm management wants to be in 3 years and what they think that they want to do to sort of get there, and aligning yourself basically with that. Okay, let's, I want to respect your time. You've already given us nugget after nugget. I'm just filled with some BD goodness, but let's get into double clicking. You've got buy-in from the top. You're aligned with this idea of coaching business development. And you know that you really want to start doing these sort of active business plans that everybody can sort of execute. Let's talk about coaching, because to your point, it all sort of comes together at the end of the day. And the coaching is really the thing that helps against distraction, attention deficit, busyness, and just human nature, if we could be just completely honest, right? To not want to do the hard thing that is sort of new, that doesn't have the grooves path. So who can be coaches? Talk to us a little bit about assessing coaches.
Well, and the first thing to say, in a hopefully non-self-serving way, there's two options, right? And there's lots of fabulous people out there, not just myself. You can go to the external route. The advantage to external is, they've got experience of being coaches. They've got the time to being coaches. Because they're paid to be coaches, they're actually going to turn up and do it, right? There's an interesting dynamic within the law firm. Because they're paying someone to turn up, they will not cancel the meeting as much because it's a respected thing. So they're more likely to pay attention. There's potentially a higher skill set or more experience around it. It's a lot easier, and it's one of the reasons why I founded my business. When you're outside an organization coming in, it's much easier to constructively challenge someone in a meaningful way. Right. Because you don't have to see them tomorrow, and you're not reliant on that partner dynamics for them to keep you gainfully employed within a BD or marketing function. So you can be much more direct in a good way, in a caring way, to help them drive their business. You can have those conversations of actually, come on, you're the one letting the side down here. You haven't quite got there. What's the blockages? We need to get you moving. And you can have the courage to actually say, do you know what? I've been coaching 8 people in your organization, 7 are doing it, and I think this last one we should actually just stop. They're never going to do it. I can't shift them. Let's try something different. Right? Yes, I'm cutting my revenue, but actually I'd rather be honest with you. Let's do that. On the internal side, though, there are some benefits, right? One, for a BD and marketing team, if they're in there, it can really elevate their status from the organization. Once you've got people, and it doesn't have to be that, can be some associates who are loading up, and depends on the partner dynamics. It can be some partners, because other partners will respond to them and their manner. Once you've got that internal thing, you've actually got it embedded in your culture, right? It's absolutely there, then you get that wonderful thing, particularly in the world when we're back in the office, not so much now, but you get that water cooler coaching. That is priceless. So I'm just about to go to a meeting. I was thinking of this, or what question should I ask, or should I take this? And having been in those environments, that stuff is absolutely brilliant, right? So it really comes down to the personality of the person as well as their skills. They have to be the sort of person who wants to listen, actively seek change, and find ways to to challenge in a way that we receive well. So it can be anyone in the organization. And look, my preference model, particularly with the bigger ones here, is actually, you come in, you would do some external coaching. You may even do some coaching the coaches internally. So you're building a long-term culture for 3 years that isn't dependent on the external resource, because it's embedded. And that changes the whole mindset and behavior. And then they've got ongoing coaching within the organization. And that gives them up for a long, long period, right?
Yeah. Let me try to, I have this instinct, and you tell me whether or not the instinct is right. I almost feel like maybe the impetus for business BD ladder, at least part of it, was you saw the long-term trend of how a coach to coach other really had that return, and how sort of coaching the internal coaches to sort of transform ended up being sort of the best way that you can make effective change. Is that a fair assessment of how you saw those things? Yeah,
absolutely right. And I see there's real benefits for people like myself and your other law industry experts in this field to go into that senior level and challenge and start the process off, and then maybe do some of the harder partners, but then also bring in the others, and then set that structure up, and actually then just move it forward and shift it, and then you've created a really good BD coaching culture within a firm. And when you look at that and you see the individuals from those BD disciplines are doing it, wow! I mean, that's just amazing, right? That's changed the dial. It's people enjoying their jobs. The firm's going to grow massively, and you can look back at that. Awesome! What a consulting gig, and consulting in its truest sense.
Yes, right. Absolutely. Okay, so we're coming to the end of our time, and I want to give the audience just a last little flavor of the deliverables that sort of BD coaches can sort of help you execute on. So can you just talk a little bit about where sort of these experience, maybe take external BD coaches, or however you want to answer it, can really help? What are the deliverables? What are we talking about specifically? You've got buy-in, you've done the magic. I don't know how you changed hearts, minds. Everybody's primed and ready. Where are we? Let's go ahead and let's start doing the work. What can we start to do?
Well, it comes down to like that knowledge of BD skills and how to engage a client, right? So taking some quite technical piece of expertise, turning it into content that people will engage with, because more, as you said, more we're moving online. So content marketing, whether it's video, short articles, long posts, is more and more important. People are looking at this, sets the platform for your social selling, right? Getting that kind of stuff going, teaching people how to get that first meeting in some jurisdictions. Interestingly, in New Zealand, it's quite easy to get the first meeting. The second meeting is tricky. So a lot of coaching we spend on is actually, once you've had that first meeting, how do you have an action-oriented meeting? How do you ask the right questions? And how do you lead to a point which will get that person to go to the second action, the third action, the fourth action? And somewhere around that process, it will happen that they will buy from you. Yes. It's about what commitment do you get from them? How do you find out what the client's drivers are? So a little bit like we went back into the buy-in internally, right? What are the client's drivers? What they're trying to achieve? How can you help them with your networks and those around you and that? So you start getting into the whole process of, from start to finish, how you engage people, who you need to engage, how you might approach them in a way that will actually get their attention and get them to take them, and then how you perform in that meeting. And sending a follow-up email or note post-meeting is absolutely key, because it allows the coach to see what was discussed. Yes. What is it getting buy-in from the client? I can read one of those and within about 2 minutes see which questions were missed and why the meeting didn't quite generate it is. And then you can move it to the next one so you can improve. Because my belief is, as humans, we can probably take 1 or 2 new ideas every coaching session. We can't take more than that. Yep. Right. Too much. Blows your brain, right? And you can't action it. So it's really important to just do one thing sometimes, or two that's really easy to understand that someone can put in place. Yeah. Okay. All right. I wanted to ask you one last thing, which is around client-led culture. This is a conversation that everybody has sort of had. I think it's like anything else. It's sort of it's in the minds, but everybody has a different definition of it.
Can you talk a little bit about how business development and client-led culture sort of come together in a beautiful marriage?
Yeah, I mean, without one, you don't have the other, right? So
Right,
if you're not
right.
thinking about your clients, there is no need for business development. It's just a series of activities to try and take money. And if you're not thinking about how you make your client successful, you shouldn't even be thinking about them as your client or where it goes, right? So my very first sales director used to say when she was walking a dog at 6 a.m, the first thing she was thinking about was her clients and what's going on in their world and how she could make them successful.
Yeah, right.
That is the mantra you need to have. Most people will be thinking about their emails, what they're going to do in their day, and how they're going to manage their team. That needs to be flipped around to actually say, how am I going to help my clients? How am I going to interact with them? How can I make them better? And the firm that really embraces that and feels in and takes all the feedback from their client and all that lovely customer experience will do that. But like anything, it starts with a mindset shift. And BD is a mindset shift as well. So actually, once you get your mind in the right place, the actions will follow and how you behave will follow because you're thinking about client first, revenue and billing second.
Yeah.
And then the short answer to that is, and look, it's really important. It's great. There's firms like yourself. This stuff needs to be tracked as well. You don't want to lose the knowledge or momentum. Partners leaving is always an issue. And if you don't have the right CRM or client tracking tools in place, someone will call someone like myself, and they'll come in and go, "How do we maintain or keep the revenue of the person who's lost? Who was it? Don't know. Who do they speak to? Don't know." So you got to have that client-led culture, have that mind, and make sure you have those systems in place. And also, no client should be owned by one person.
Yeah.
More people in the firm should have exposure to every single client, and that keeps you protected.
Yeah. Well said. I loved your answer about really business development without a client-led experience is really just you constantly just trying to suck all of the juice out of the money tree, as it were, right? Instead of growing the tree in some significant way, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Something. Yeah. Okay. Then I want to land with an end with a future forecast. When you look 3 years or 5 years into business development for law firms, where in general do you think the leverage is? Where do you think that top business development law firms growing maybe not Amazon, maybe not like Facebook, maybe not like tech companies, in this way, but what are they doing? How are they acting? What do they look like? What do they sound like? It's a big question, but let's have fun.
Yeah, so it's evolving quite fast, right? And what law firms are doing is evolving massively fast and how they're doing it. And the service areas are going beyond law as well.
Yes.
Which means that what we may well see is more like an account manager or someone in there who's actually going to be almost living on the big client sites. So when we're talking these big global ones, they're going to be walking the halls, they're probably doing it already, and they're actually going to be embedded in the client and really just feeding back to the firm what the client needs, where they're trying to get to, and then align services within their organization and outside their organization. And there's going to be a real race for this across law firms, accounting firms, engineering firms, anyone in professional services, IT services. They're all going to be trying to do this, get to this model. So they're the one who controls the flow of money out of the client, as opposed to being the one who's a service provider to someone else. There's a lot of competition going on there. For the others who aren't quite so big, that coaching to stay relevant and get to the top table will become even more prevalent, because they'll need those skills, they'll need those abilities to adapt. And you'll start seeing coaches shift a lot away from talking just about the traditional BD activities and almost becoming digital marketing, digital BD coaches, right? Because as more and more work is getting won online, that won't change. There was a hard shift because of COVID and coronavirus, and people suddenly jumping on board. Some people doing it horrifically, some people doing it really, really well.
Right.
There will be a desire to get that going rather than a panic mode of no one can talk to me, I need to get online. It will be a considered 1 year, 2 year plan to actually do that, and then partner onboarding will move into actually, Here's what you do. Here's how you do your digital marketing profile. Here's how you do your webinar stuff. Here's how you do your speaking. Here's how you do your face-to-face, and it'll all become interlinked.
Yep. Yeah, I love it. I love the future that you're painting. It seems bright for everybody, especially especially the clients as well. It's a more consummate experience that is really more considered inside every single approach, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's going to be a real desire to kind of show added value and client understanding, because if that shift doesn't continue to happen and doesn't happen in a meaningful way, the only thing that's going to happen is a look at particularly big procurement firms about how can we drive down prices.
Yes, right.
And for the industry, nobody wants to get into that state.
Right,
you always want to be focused on a value and a better outcome. And if you can achieve that, you can kind of move that trend starting to come away a little bit.
Yes, such a cliche, but it's true that in professional services and double clicking on law firms, the future is up to you, however you want to define it. Or I think somebody once said, the best way to predict the future is to create it, something like this. So up to you, law firms, to see where you want to go.
Well, absolutely. I tried my best there, but I did start this with my business story and saying I'm no good at predicting the future. I started a business in lockdown. So take what I said with that in mind.
Sure, exactly. Ben Pail, thank you so much for being on the Nexl Fireside Chats. I loved it, mostly because I just love this topic. I just can't help it. But it is an absolute pleasure to spend some time with you. Thank you so much for it.
No, thank you very much. Really enjoyed it. I hope the community get lots of benefit and advice out of it. And I just love chatting to you to talk about BD all day.
Me too. All right, everybody. Well, take care. We will be back next week, of course, with another Nexl Fireside Chat, talking about some issue of business of law. And remember, the best way to forecast the future is to create it yourself. Good luck, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, Ben. Thanks so much.
Cheers, Ben. Bye.